My name is Aishwarya, and I am obsessed with people. I'm obsessed with what makes us human, how we experience the same events differently, the stories that we leave behind from those experiences, and how, as a result, we are just hopelessly interconnected with one another. And as an information science major here at the university, I've learned to key into those nuances of our interactions. And it has increased my perception of my fellow students. And as a result, my drive to create an impact and my passion for mixed reality as a social good tool has driven me to create the next project that I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to share my screen. So this past year, I know, has been incredibly transformative for all of us, and everybody has mentioned this at some point. But for me, I was finally able to internalize the timeline of this country, right? And in doing so, I realized how much change the university specifically has gone through. What connects us to a group of 17 boys in 1897 who were learning to use bed slats as weapons of offense? We're all Terps. So this project originally arose in my mind as a response to the general grumbling of my fellow students that our experience as students was so different this year. And I thought that if sophomores who were already kind of well established in the university, juniors who had their friends all around them, and seniors who just had one last semester to get through, how bad was it for freshmen and transfer students who had just come to the university, didn't really know what was going on around them or what they should get interested in? And so in my user research, I found that obviously new students felt almost no connection to the university at all, right? They felt no drive to contribute to it. There was no spirit that came from maybe going to sporting events or going through club events and organizations. And interestingly enough, the dissatisfaction was highest among students who are native to the state of Maryland. So like I said, the Maryland natives were 150% more likely to not feel as home on campus. And this was just a result of the fact that they grew up down the street from this university, right? And I think as a result, 90% of students said that they have almost no, they never felt like the university was a historical location, and they never saw it that way. And when I used the word museum, almost all of their reactions were like an instant transformation. So while I'm sitting in Briggs Alumni Library, trying to figure out all these stories and like trying to decipher student experiences throughout the years, I felt this overwhelming sense of nostalgia from happening upon what felt like hidden treasure. And then after I talked to Ann Turcos, who was our university archivist previously, I felt such a strong connection to the university, knowing that all the people who came before me were so transformative and so interesting and had completely different experiences than I did. So here's like all those little newspaper clippings from the Diamondback over the years, from Maryland Today, from the local news. Something that I found particularly exciting was that the Beach Boys, the Grateful Dead, Elvis Presley, Aretha Franklin, they all came and performed at Cole Fieldhouse. And so over the years, how our experiences changed just from a music standpoint, right? Here we see like the beginnings of what made the university a national arboretum. And here, this was following the civil rights movement. And how all university students on campus came together to fight injustice and speak up for their experiences. We have Len Bias, we have 1972 protests following the Vietnam War. And then And then so many alumni, so many incredible alumni who have come through here, and also obviously the fire of 1912. So in my user research, one of the students I interviewed, her name was Amalai, and she's a freshman from Maryland. And she wanted to figure out, I wanted to figure out like what drives her to be a Terp on campus, right? I asked her, what does it mean to you to be a Terrapin? And based on that, I mapped out like a user journey for what I hope she would go through if she had an experience like this. So Amalai, she also goes by Ali, wants to find a place on campus where she feels at home. And then she opens up the app and explores Cole Fieldhouse, where she discovers that all her favorite artists had shows there. When I actually told her about this, she was like extremely excited, right? She was like, if I was to actually put up my phone and be able to see like the stage, that would be so awesome. And that's kind of exactly what augmented reality does, right? It transports you to a different time period. And more importantly, it shows the juxtaposition of how much has changed since like our experience to theirs. And so she hears audio snippets from this show. She sees a Led Zeppelin flyer hanging from the wall. She hears the hustle bustle of the student crowd as they try to get in. And all of these things together would hopefully transport her to that different time. And then she walks to the College of Journalism, where she learns that there used to be a whole another department of people who were African American who had to go walk 2 miles into Berwyn in order to get into their school. And how after she goes through this entire experience, she should feel as if she has learned something from the people who came before her that allowed her to have the student experience that she does today. So why is this important, right? I think we all have this idea in our heads that like the farther, like everybody has said this, Winston Churchill, James Baldwin, people are trapped in history and history is trapped in them. I was only able to internalize history and time periods after I realized that, the first African American woman who graduated from this university, she's the same age as my grandfather, right? And it's not that long ago. And that's why these student experiences are so important, because they put into perspective how we are all so interconnected. And never has there been a time where it is so accessible. We all have smartphones, or at least most of us do. We're very receptive to this kind of technology because it's kind of all around us. And we feel incredibly isolated. So we're looking for experiences right now to bring us closer together. And I hope that this will help us gain an appreciation and pride for the university, a value for our educational experiences, and become a community of people across generations bounded by our shared experiences. So for next steps, what I see is collaborating with RHA, orientation, and other organizations on campus to kind of bring their stories and their history onto campus as well. RHA, how can we use residence halls? How can we use, for orientation and campus tours, how can we bring those experiences to new students? And then for my pilot program prototype, the Maryland Stadium, the Farm, McKeldin Mall, Murrell Hall, and Cole Fieldhouse, just showing students these different stories and seeing how they react. So thank you, that's all for me. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about how this technology works, how I structured the design, or how I'm going to start developing it, feel free to reach out to me. I don't know if I mentioned this, but it's all based on geolocation. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for having me.